This podcast is brought to you by our patrons on Patreon.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of any agency of Tent-Standing Studios. Assumptions made within the podcast are not reflective of the position of any Tent-Standing entity.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 92 of the never-ending random discussion, brought to you by Tent-Standing Studios.
Your weekly dose of... it's weird.
Why?
It's weird. It's weird.
Take two, boss?
No.
No, take two.
No. No! Stop it.
God damn it. Okay, go.
I'm leaving that in.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 92 of the never-ending random discussion, brought to you by Tent-Standing Studios.
Your weekly dose of hootenanny, malarkey, shenanigans, and dick jokes. I'm your host, Andrew.
And Steven. This week, we get the extraordinarily wonderful pleasure, that is weird grammar in it, of welcoming the host of 1,000 Things to Talk About podcast, Andrea Parrish.
Hello!
And making her first appearance on the show, we have advocate and activist for the LGBTQ community, Lexi Miller.
Hey, guys.
Hello. Oh, yeah, I got to read more things. Of course, if you want to follow Andrea Parrish's work, you can check that out at 1000thingstotalkabout.com, a daily, very short podcast that posits a question, gives you some information, lets you consider it on your own.
I'm also bad at getting plugs. Is there anything that we need to plug that I forgot to ask you about?
No.
Okay.
We're good.
And
not at this time.
Today we're adding a little bit of a line that we're going to do this from regular on, is that our old producer gave his 2 weeks notice about a month ago. But today we have finally found a replacement. Everybody welcome Will Gilman, our new in-studio producer.
It messed me up when people are waving. I forgot that cameras were there.
Yeah. You're not on one, so it's hard to
I
get
know, it's awesome.
I feel like I should point a camera at you, just so you feel like a part of the...
Just to make sure I behave.
Yes.
Like,
It won't help.
Technically, I could set the tripod up and put the big camera on him, and that would be super high res, so everybody can see all of his imperfections. But
And there are a lot.
I'm not mean.
Yes, you
All
are.
right.
You
Well, I
spent-
mean, I'm not that mean.
You spent the past hour telling us how mean you were.
Well, I'm not that mean to our viewers/listeners.
No, fair
I
point.
could find fuck Will.
Aw.
Oh, God in heaven. All right. So it's segment one. It's time to ask questions. You got any?
There's
hinting at that,
There's a
though.
dumb thing I'm going to do later on, but I figured we could go through Andrea's stuff to get the business out of the way before we get into the meat of the first segment.
Okay, there's meat.
There's always meat. We find out what's going on with Andrea.
Okay,
find out how her
fine.
podcast is doing. Find out what she's planning.
Well, the podcast is currently at episode 380 something, so we're approaching 400 episodes.
Jesus Christ.
And about a year and a half now, so it's going pretty well.
All right.
I am pondering potential turning my question cards into something you can actually buy for yourself rather than just beg me to get a stack of. But that's not going anywhere in particular yet.
Those cards are awesome.
And I'm trying to rebuild my entire house still, and I'm a year and a half into that project too. I'm noticing a comparison there. But yeah, so things are going pretty well, and if you want to listen, muse topics on any of the social media networks and ask me. Yeah, I have lots of questions if you actually want to ask a question.
That's
but,
true.
Yeah.
She even, I think it's every day post a discussion topic. I'm probably a different one that you record.
Yes.
But that's half my fun of the day is like, oh, there's a new one. Can I contribute in some way?
Yeah, well, that's actually what's going to be posted. So I just posted today my 1100th question on my personal page, and that's
wow.
where all the podcast questions are coming from.
Right.
So I went all the way back to question 1 and started there with the podcast. So if you follow me on my personal page, then you're seeing what will be asked in like 4 years on the podcast.
That's awesome.
Wow.
But, yeah. So it's a lot, but I have fun with it.
It's build a knife foundation so you're, I don't know why I said knife.
Build a knife foundation.
Now foundation. That was supposed to be a bad joke sound effect. That was just me stuttering.
He might have been hitting me for saying knife foundation.
A little bit of both.
Okay.
Fair enough.
So that you've got content for years to come. That's awesome. Because like if I look at Nerd's history or future rather, the history's great. I'm like, are we going to still be able to get people on the show in a year?
Yeah, the challenge there is actually researching all of them because I'm usually spending somewhere around 5 to 10 hours a week just researching for the 5 episodes a week that are coming out. So the challenge there is not the questions. The challenge there is the research for the actual episodes.
Yeah.
So, and sometimes I give myself really weird questions that I really wish I didn't have to write a podcast about, but I gave myself a challenge. So.
Yeah, I do that with the Darkest Corner a lot. Like, I'm going to cover this aspect of mental illness. I don't know anything about it, but I'm going to do it. And then I realize about, half an hour into writing, I'm like, fuck, this is a lot of work.
Yeah. Podcasts tend to do that.
Yeah.
Just a little
Yes,
bit.
they do.
Well, this one's easy. It's just get people on and then do random things.
True.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of prep. He gave himself some prep to do every time now, but like the worst we had to do was find a funny Amazon item, and that's gone now.
Yeah.
Think about it. Third segment.
Yes.
Each one that we've gone, we went regret, and then Amazon, and then the new one we haven't announced yet. You'll hear about it later.
Yeah.
That we're doing includes just a little bit more work. Like there was no work in the regret bit. It was just music and start regretting things.
Yeah.
And the Amazon is find one item and then you're done. And his method takes, how long does it take?
If I really if I have an idea of what I want to do already, I can do it in about 20 minutes. But if I don't know what movie or thing I want to pull from, then I have to go find that, and that can be all day.
Yeah.
This sounds a bit like a marriage. It starts off with a lot different work than you're expecting, and then just gets to be more and more and more.
Well, sure.
Yeah. Being married sucks.
Being married's awesome.
That's true. It's pretty good. All this,
Easily convinced.
Yeah, apparently. That didn't take long.
those jokes to real. I'm like,
Yay! Woo!
That's so non-committal. I love it. Ah, fuck. I've lost my train of thought and I'm bad at podcasting. Steven! I throw it to you.
Thank God for co-hosts.
Thank God I know what's going on completely.
I told you this show sucked when I was the one running it because I'd just be like... I'd have to cut so much dead silence because I was just an awkward son of a bitch.
He just fixate on reading book titles, and he'd be like, Andrew,
The
we're doing a
Ruins. Tim Robbins. The Sugar
show."
Fix.
Isn't Tim Robbins an actor?
Well, no, I read the author's Tom Robbins, but I said Tim instead. Skinny Legs and All is what the title of the book is.
What? Oh, that studio audience. They are so easy to please.
I shoot him in the face.
What? Don't
He is
threaten our
legend.
audience.
They're not real. We can't hear the real ones.
You don't threaten people, real or otherwise. It's rude.
I threatened Doc all the... Oh, you got to beat Doc tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
In other news.
In other news about... Let's stop talking about Andrew's awkwardness.
Oh, God. Somebody... Who was it that surprised me being a fan of Doc Donut? It was some random comic.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and they were like, "Oh my God, I love that segment." And I'm like, "Really? Why don't you say something? Because I'm feeling weird."
Who does? Who would like that? It's awful.
I have no idea. I have no idea.
He's such a dick.
I feel like you're saying this because there's a chance he might hear you and react later.
He's always here. He bitches about us being late, which means he shows up the second we start recording and just hovers. And he just waits to
No,
come
that's
in.
the hover hipster. He just sits in a chair.
Well, the hover hipster hasn't been around for a while. He tried to steal my dog.
Oh.
Yeah. This is a real person, actually.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, it's a great story. I'll tell you in the break because we've told it on this show twice.
Okay.
And he doesn't want that character to come in.
Lexi, did you have any idea what you were getting into
I
here?
had no idea what I was getting into. I just kind of hoped and prayed and,
Yeah.
throw me to the wolves. It's all good.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
this is only my second time, so
Right?
I'll do my best to help guide
good.
you through.
Right? Thank you.
There's unity happening on the other side of the table.
Yeah.
We're uniting. Yay.
We even wore the same color of shirt.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like we
yeah,
planned.
and suit. Yeah, like we are like matching. It's perfect.
Yeah. Besides, she's another
Yay.
tall woman.
Yes, exactly, right?
I am all for other tall women in this room. I'm just saying.
Amen.
I'm a tall dude. That's all I got.
Yeah.
I'm just large in every possible dimension. It sucks.
True. He's above average in height. He's well above average in width.
It's a rule of threes. Think
I'm
of a
not
third
going to say
dimension.
length. I'm
Think
not
of a-
going to say length. You
I
can.
feel
Only
like
he was
it.
above average in hair.
Oh.
Hey, this is an exceptional hairdo for a person of my shape, considering my hair starts here at this sort of grizzled war veteran sort of buzz cut, and then it grows into ridiculous impression of a white afro, and then it gains half an inch and it goes down
Can I see this? Can I get paid to see this? Because I want to see a white afro so bad.
It's awful. It's awful because it's not like good afro hair. It's just regular curly hair, but it goes this way instead of down. Like
So it goes
with
out
the
instead of down?
Yeah, and then
Okay.
all at once it will just whoop, and then I look a little bit like Barrister with those powdered wigs.
Wow. Get
That's
the full
amazing.
effect.
I also want to pay to watch this.
And then it comes down, and I just sort of look like the comic book guy from The Simpsons is trying to recapture his youth.
Worst podcast ever.
Oh, he just scored a point in Family Feud.
I was thinking that was an elevator noise.
You've reached a new level of bad.
I had to defend my choice in hair. This isn't like I'm balding and therefore owning it. This is, no, I don't want to look like a cartoon character anymore. So I'll look like a different cartoon character.
This is like fucking Steven on an elevator. Strong on so many levels.
What?
Wow.
A stolen joke.
Okay.
It's a stolen joke. Ah, God, who said it?
I'm confused too.
Yeah,
Don't
I was
worry.
like,
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know why it went straight to fucking me. I was just talking about hair.
We brought up elevators, and that was the first thing I thought of.
And naturally, when you think of elevators, obviously you think of
Fucking
fucking.
Steven.
Well, of
yeah.
course, of course. There is something about those shitty panels and those handrails. It just says,
Hey,
it just oozes sex.
Everybody loves a romantic night in an elevator, okay?
Everybody.
Everybody.
Everybody. There
Especially
was a
when it's
song
with you,
about it.
Steven, obviously.
Apparently, I give exceptional romantic elevator evenings.
Yeah.
Remind me at some point to tell you about my girlfriend and I in the college dorm.
Okay.
Oh,
I'm already curious.
That is a Patreon story waiting to happen. I feel like. So if you want to hear that, feel free to hit up patreon.com/pantspending. For as little as $1 a month. You can hear all of the dumb things we do. And see some of them, too. Especially one set to this music. Hey, how you doing, Andrew?
Good.
These two
You
flirt
broke already.
horribly.
Yeah, right?
They
We're
really
also an
need to
old,
work that.
angry, bickering married couple, depending on the episode you're listening to.
Yeah, no, we're past the honeymoon phase. Now,
Yeah.
now it's just raw black hatred.
Yeah.
And sex.
Well, of course
I
that.
hate sex, though. Like, just rage sex.
So this has gone totally off the rails. So Lexi, how about you tell the podcast listeners something about yourself?
Yeah.
I was trying to do that originally. Like,
I, of course, derailed because I saw an opportunity to be funny. Okay, so you did a thing pretty recently.
I did.
Yeah, you did a panel called, I hope I'm getting the time.
I did a panel. My doctor actually asked me to do a panel about trans people, and just basically it was an opportunity to get to introduce yourself and tell your story and get to share your journey, and also give people an opportunity to ask a trans people, because unfortunately visibility for trans people is not it's not out there as much. And there's a statistic that I believe 84% of Americans actually only know about trans people through media. So
that makes sense.
I had not quite thought of it that way.
yeah, so it gave us kind of an opportunity to kind of to share our stories, ask any questions if anybody had the opportunity to, and yeah, it was super exciting.
Yeah, all right.
Good stuff.
So I thought of a stupid one on the way here.
Okay.
I've been working it out, and I just sort of coalesced into its final form.
Sure.
I want to preface this by saying I'm going to say something stupid.
Yeah.
Listeners, I'm probably going to walk into a weird philosophical death trap.
I'm really terrified about what he's about to say.
Right?
I know, it's-
You're like prepping it like it's going to be the worst thing ever.
It's not that bad. I just know how the internet works.
yes.
So
This is true.
If something happens during this episode, or any episode in particular, where I say something dumb that you feel like needs to be addressed,
Call him on it.
we have
Okay.
a whole contact form.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah.
I will freely call you. Okay. Good
Okay,
to know.
yeah.
Yeah, okay. So
hip check
hit
my
me.
ass. Okay, so I have seen. Specifically, I'm circling around the word trans because I have seen trans girl and trans male, trans man,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
To me, that seems like an othering sort of thing.
What do you mean?
Well, because my understanding is that the transition is supposed to be from man to woman or woman
Yes,
to man.
of course.
So deliberately identifying as trans seems like you're somebody's othering you. Is that how off base am I thinking about this?
I think it depends on the trans person. For me, I don't think it that way. Like, I find part of my identity in being trans because that's who I am.
Okay.
Like, I can't, no matter what I do, like, I will never be born, a cis female, which is basically somebody who is born as they are assigned. So,
What? I'm sorry.
yeah.
Is that an acronym? I've seen it so many goddamn times.
I do not believe so. I think it's just a term. I believe it's from Latin. So there's just cis and trans. Anybody can fact check.
Cis, if I remember correctly, cis is matches and trans does not. I think it comes from chemistry.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah, we had a gentleman on the show. How long ago was Sergey on? So we're just having kind of another one of those philosophical debates where it's like, do you talk about it? Do you not talk? Because he's gay,
Right.
and I didn't actually find out for sure that he was gay until like middle of the mid segment and everything, and I of course naturally made an ass of myself because now I know the thing and we're going to talk about it. But it was just the like, how does it feel to be so different than what everybody thinks people should be,
Right.
and would you rather people just not talk about it, whatever? And he had some of the best explanation. It was like, I don't fit into the norm and I don't want to.
Exactly.
And it's like I get to make my own identity because I don't have to fit into the mold of everyone else. And I thought that was pretty, and it gave me a new perspective on it. 'Cause
Definitely.
Yeah.
I've always been open-minded, but I also don't understand it.
Right.
So, but yeah.
Well, to a certain extent, I'm curious how much understanding to qualify. Clearly, as you can see, I'm a cishet white dude. I don't know how much understanding I can do of a person's situation, but I can try to
But
try.
just to try to empathize or listen, like that's all you can really do.
Yeah, and that's all I really want to do at this point is just listen to people and figure out where they're at.
Yeah.
Because I grew up in a small town, so there's not a lot of perspectives in a small
Right.
town. Unless you like farmers, then there's a shit ton of perspectives in small towns.
For what it's worth, small towns often harbor some of the weirdest, most interesting people if you're willing to go looking for them. Like, speaking as somebody who grew up in a town of 10,000 people with a very strong religious majority I was not a part of, like, I was the out bi girl in a high school of 300 people graduating that... Yeah, let's just say the weird ones can be found if you go looking for them, but you have to go looking for them.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, yeah. You always have to dig for the outcasts because they don't want to be found most of the time. Okay, so there's that. I've always wondered... I'm sort of transitioning because I see an empty spot
Bullet
here.
pointing in his head.
There you go.
Yeah. I said it by accident.
Oh.
Okay, so I've always wanted to ask this. I haven't yet asked my gay friends this question because I don't know them as well. So, dating is already kind of a clusterfuck for just any human being.
Yeah.
I assuming it's worse for you. I'm just sort of. How bad is it out there in the world? Just.
I can't really compare my experiences to like cis women, but I would say, I don't know, like I feel like my experiences isn't out of the realm of any other female. Like, I mean, I still get nice guys, but I also try to be pretty out and open about my identity. That way, you don't get the whole trope of, I was tricked or whatever. So, and occasionally, like, there are people that are assholes and, they will make threats or do that, but that's few and far between. And honestly, I've for the most part have had nothing but great luck so far. So
right on. That's good.
Yeah.
All right.
And as much as the outside of the county voters vote, Spokane's a pretty open city.
Yes,
like
thankfully.
As long as you don't go too far in any direction. Outside of the city,
It's
especially
pretty
north.
much the blue gem in a red ocean on this side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I still adore that, we've got the other side of the mountains that makes sure that all of our legislation's still normal and right. But yeah, everybody on that side of the mountains thinks of Spokane as just the redneck hick red voters. But I'm like,
pretty much.
oh, not much.
Not
like,
all.
Not in actuality. We're pretty open around here.
Exactly.
Which is nice. So basically what you're saying is that dating's a shit show no matter what.
Well, yeah, pretty much. I mean, it doesn't matter who you are. I mean, it's messy and complicated and everything, so...
Yeah. It's kind of, I was just curious how it would compare versus my own limited and terrible dating experiences.
He's a geek. Sometimes that's harder, getting dates.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I know
being
that.
Socially awkward automatically.
I've only had 3 major relationships in my life, and I'm married to the last one.
So you had it relatively easy, is what you're saying?
No, it took fight to get that far. Yeah.
All right.
I have had it easy just because I've been with her for almost a decade, but that's just me being lucky. But before that, I can't hit on women. I just can't. It's impossible. I can't even do it in jest.
You can't even do it in jest.
No, I can't.
That's fascinating.
I kind of want to hear him try.
No.
Yeah.
Again, can't. It's weird. It's can't.
As in, you physically stop, or?
The only time I've successfully picked someone up by flirting with them was not actually flirting with them. It was teaching her friend zone friend that really wanted to be with her how to hit on his friend. Even though I had no idea, I had the confidence to teach him that, and she fell for me because she was there the whole time.
So Cyrano de Bergerac.
I don't know what those words mean.
Oh.
What?
What the fuck?
I'm very uncultured.
Oh, dude.
Okay. Short version, there's a really famous historical play out there. Cyrano de Bergerac helps be the voice behind somebody who really wants somebody to fall in love with them, and they end up falling in love, but Cyrano really loves her instead.
Oh.
Yeah, and so he's able to help the other person woo them because he's truly in love with them. And there's all that weird stuff about wooing and Shakespearean times and Elizabethan humor, and it's a thing. Yeah. Anyway.
The movie Roxanne from a year I can't remember because we did it on the show and I've forgotten since, is based on that particular story, but it stars Steve Martin, and it is great.
Shocking that it would be good.
It's actually really enjoyable. It's got all of this 80s shit in it. So it's a lot of white dudes. Thank you. 1980s. So it's got a lot of white dudes in polo shirts, and it's a very 80s, but it's a very good movie.
All right. Well, stepping right on past that one. Right? Yeah, let's just move past that.
So it came to mind.
If I can jump in and ask a question.
Please do.
What is the question that you hope people will ask that they usually don't, and how would you answer it?
That's a good question.
Saying that to the woman who comes up with questions,
right? No, absolutely.
She's like, can I ask a question? Of course you can.
No, you can't. You have to be silent.
Only if we have a very long conversation first.
Right. Ooh.
Owned.
Wow.
Saucy.
No comment.
I'm just going to let steam out of my collar right now.
Yeah.
There you go.
Would you like us to banter a bit more so you have time to think?
Please,
okay, got it.
I would appreciate that because I'm like deer in the headlights right now.
I recognize that look.
Can I phone a friend?
Yeah, please. So, yeah.
Oh, man.
Part of the reason I asked that question is there's a lot of interview questions where you hear, and they're all still completely legitimate and completely important to talk about, but there always seems to be that one thing that you're just aching or hoping that somebody will ask because it's a point you want to make.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I've noticed people try and kind of shove that point into a different question unless you just leave an open forum for it.
Right.
So that's kind of why.
Yeah.
And so that's part of the reason I'm very, very curious.
I would say that the one question that I have been asked that I really like when people ask that is, like if somebody's new that doesn't know any trans people, like how do I treat them? Like how, and the answer of course is treat them like any other person. I mean, make sure that they're respected, that for trans people, we have good days, bad days, just like everybody else. And, for us, our bodies don't match. So, some of us experience gender dysphoria, which is, basically an uncomfort with our bodies. So anything you can do to counter that, is obviously well appreciated and, sign that you love someone. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious if there's particular strategies that could help in those situations that work for you, since you can't be expected to talk for everyone.
No, absolutely. I would say, for me, when I get dysphoric, Honestly, I do a lot of self-care. So, like, I'll make it a point to, like, wear an extra nice dress or, like, do makeup or whatever to just kind of help that discomfort until it kind of goes away. And then I'm good. And then we're back to business.
Okay. Is there a particular sign that people can look for to see dysphoria? I know every person is different, but I don't know much about dysphoria.
Not necessarily. I mean, it can be. I mean, if the person is obviously very distressed, then yes, they're going to show that. But I mean, just on the surface, not necessarily. I mean, I think that a lot of trans people experience dysphoria without necessarily verbalizing it and saying, you know, hey, I'm experiencing dysphoria, or, you know, this is going on. A lot of trans people just kind of write it out and, you know, go from there if they can.
Yeah, I don't think I could ever think of that question, or you know, or at least that particular thing, because if it's a person, like a human being in front of me with a heartbeat, that's what they are to me. It doesn't matter, like man, woman, lesbian, other what those words mean, letters in the LGBTQ, all of those things.
Yes,
they're all people to me. I don't see that in a person. Like that's not who they are to me. And you know, that's not really the majority in this country, and I'd love that. But I'm different with other quirks, like. If I meet someone with a British accent, I get a little weird around them.
Well, doesn't everybody?
I mean, yeah, but I'm really bad about it. We should
get
like
Oscar
turn it
back
to
to a fanboy?
I'm
or
a
like,
bit
what
of
do you do?
I'm a bit of an Anglophile.
Oh,
and I embarrassed myself.
Do you like quote in front of the? Do you like break out an accent in front of them,
God,
or
no,
like?
No, I'm terrified.
Okay.
Oh no, I know. I was afraid while speaking. He was where he was sitting, speaking to him. I know I was pointing. I wanted to explain myself. I had to keep catching myself from accidentally
Slipping
doing it
into it,
because I mean that's actually a psychological phenomenon.
is.
You work with
Yeah.
somebody with an accent, you end up making the accent. But,
Right.
Sign of connection.
and I'm just sitting here fanboying, and I'm like, you got to stop doing this, Andrew. Stop talking about, because I watch a lot of British television, and I had to keep talking about things I knew that only he would know because he's from there.
Just don't think about it. Just don't think about it. Just don't think about it.
So, you know, I'm not racist, but I just love some races more than others.
Perfect. Andrew Dresden 2017.
Yeah, there you go.
I thought that was
Sign
funny.
of progressivism.
Oh boy.
No, see, I don't hate other races. That's no. Like white people, we're boring. I like British people better. They're still white people, but they're interesting.
They're classy white people.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, they drink with their
well,
pinkies up. They know
ish.
something.
Kind of.
They call crackers something else. Biscuits.
No, that's cookies.
Right, but
I
what do they
think.
call crackers then?
I don't know. I don't
Crisps.
No, that's chips.
No, yeah, that is chips.
know. I don't know.
Now we're just talking about British words.
Yeah.
So what question are you sick of being asked?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Oh, that is the easily what is in your pants. I get that question every day. Like
Really?
I not even joking.
Keys.
Keys.
That's what's in my pants.
Oh,
that is not what we're talking about,
yeah,
Andrew.
not exactly what. Yeah.
That was a good joke. Stop saying my jokes are bad. He's making me self-conscious.
But yes, one thing I cannot stress enough. Obviously, I don't think that this would apply to like 99% of listeners, but you know, obviously, never ask a trans person what's in their pants. Like, it really doesn't apply. And
Don't ask anybody that.
yeah,
like
like
just make a firm rule.
I've gotten, like people have asked me that, and then I've told them, you know, I don't feel comfortable with that, and then they get offended at me, like I'm some sort of weird science project that they have to know the answer to, and yeah.
They don't have any right, and this is just me getting on my
no,
soapbox.
totally.
But
No,
Please.
Soapbox on
Yeah,
the floor,
yeah,
stand.
definitely.
So, but nobody, in my opinion, has a right to any other person's body or information, or even anybody's person in any way, shape, or form. Like, you never touch a pregnant lady's belly without asking. You
Absolutely.
never ask somebody what's in their pants.
Right.
You always ask permission before you touch. Like, there's yeah, okay, fine. Well, I get it.
Yes.
But Parrish 20. Yeah, no, not running for office. There's way too many skeletons in my closet. Long story short, it seems like the basic tenet of any group or any individual, which you treat them with respect. You treat anybody with respect.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which, you know, respect is a whole nother discussion topic that
Yes.
could go on for a very long time of what exactly is respect.
R-E-S-P-C-T.
Well, it's actually in what is today's podcast on recording, which is going to be a couple weeks ago when this finally comes out. Right. But the question was, how would you prefer somebody express romantic interest in you?
Oh, I didn't see that one.
And most of the answers that are coming through to that are basically respect me, start the relationship off understanding that there's some modicum of respect, and be a little more blunt about it than you think you should be.
Can I comment?
Perfect.
Ask me what's in my pants.
If you want to.
Yeah.
Levity, damn it!
He's trying to keep things light.
I am.
I respect that.
But I don't know. That's just me on my soapbox, and I don't want to take away your time. But
it's very true. No, I think that respect is the kind of the basic what everything boils down to.
Absolutely.
I mean, no matter who you are, I mean, respect is key. So
yeah, actually, I guess a couple of weeks ago, when it comes to this particular released episode, but there was one of the vlogs. What did I call it?
I don't know.
Well, so because it was about it was freedom of speech is what it was, and basically what it ended is everyone's allowed to be who they want to be, including because people look to freedom of speech and discrimination things and everything about. I'm allowed to say what I want and do what I want and be what I want. You kind of are, but you're not allowed to take that right away from someone else.
Absolutely.
You can't use these things to discriminate because that same protection you have is the same protection they have. We're all equal. We all deserve our own freedoms of respect, and nobody can take that away from us, no matter what their beliefs demand.
Well, and it's a basic difference between a freedom and a liberty, because a freedom is completely unrestricted freedom, whereas what the Constitution actually provides for and what the UN Convention on Human Rights provides for is actually liberty, which is freedom that is limited by the social contract.
Exactly.
And that social contract is your right to punch ends where my nose begins, which, nose, personal bubble, could be a lot further, but still, it's that whole ability to live and let live, which sometimes gets very difficult when you're talking about worldwide issues. And speaking of which, I am certain that you have been talked to about this a lot, and I wish this were not an issue, but given Washington State's current legal challenges and the legal challenges throughout the country,
yes,
where does somebody start if they want to be an ally and want to help? There's so many places out there.
See, I knew you would know the things I'm supposed to be asking.
Perfect. There are actually a lot of groups, especially on Facebook, in regards to like the politics. This upcoming November, there's a potential ballot that's going to be released that is targeting trans people. Right now, there is an amazing group called Gender Justice League. They are working on
I love that so much.
Combating that bill and working on that. There's also
which bill?
It's I-115, I believe. Or the
one we have to make go away?
Yes, where you have to decline to sign. So it's I-1552, I believe.
I'll double check.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, they
please
were
correct me on that.
accosting people outside of every Walmart
Yeah,
in the
they're
area.
every Walmart.
Those clowns? Okay.
Yeah, they're yeah. So but there's also other organizations as far as like visibility. There is one Facebook group called Transform Washington, and they do other outreach. They also share other trans people's stories, so that way, like anybody, every story is different. So that way, people kind of can learn about different trans people and our struggles and our journeys and everything like that. So.
It looks like HB 1011, which is a replacement.
Oh, so they couldn't get the first one through, so they tried to throw another one through?
Yep. So the first one was an I-1515.
Yeah.
And that was the one that failed on the ballot, and now they're gathering signatures for HB 1011.
Yeah. And of course, they're doing the normal tactic, which of course is taking a very unrealistic worst case scenario and trying to make it seem like it's an everyday thing, or no co-ed bathrooms in school is the way they were.
That's how they're marketing it.
Yeah, and of course I'm watching people going through sign it. I'm like, I really wish I had my good camera right now because I'd blast this shit. That's fucked.
Well, and
I was so angry.
Well, it seems like from what I've been reading too, a lot of those signature gatherers are actually paid, and so they don't actually know more than a single line or two in support. And if you challenge them on that, they'll eventually come around to saying, listen, I'm getting paid $1 per signature for this. So it's not even really that. Plus,
oh wow, they're not even being paid hourly to be awful.
No.
They're just
Well, and I've walked by the signs and the petitioners, and like they weren't super engaged. Like they didn't have that like they like you said, like they were paid, and that they eventually fold and come around and be like they don't know much more than the person that's potentially signing. So.
Yeah.
Well, and there's also, they usually cite statistics about, well, what if somebody assaults you in the bathroom, which frankly, trans people experience more violence in restrooms and public places than any cisgendered individual does in a private space.
And the biggest statistic of assaults in bathrooms come from cis people.
Yeah.
Like it's like a dude goes in the girl's bathroom who is a dude,
right,
and attacks someone, and that's it. Like,
right.
You don't hear they inflaming this thing, and it's not how it is.
Yeah.
And
which
I'm
honestly,
really angry about this particular thing.
No, right there with you.
No, I agree. I try to remember that they're people and they're legitimately afraid of a thing. That doesn't make them right or good.
They're uneducated.
Yeah,
they need education.
Maybe not. I mean, some people are uneducated and don't understand the issues, and then there are people who are truly just coming from a place of fear. They may know all the statistics, they may know all the information, but really what it comes down to is, I am scared that somebody I don't understand or something that I don't understand is going to happen to me. And really, in that case, it's just like an alcoholic. They have to decide that they want to learn something or want to see that other perspective. And part of that comes from the public visibility, which is part of the reason I think you are awesome for being out there and a part of that.
Yeah,
definitely.
mad respect for that.
Right. But I mean, part of it too just comes down to that, listen, this is something you got to deal with. Because gender separated bathrooms weren't even a thing in the United States until the 1900s.
Yep.
Right. It wasn't a thing because
I did not know that.
Right, because women were not allowed in the workplace for the most part, or it was late 1800s. But really what it came down to is they created ladies' bathrooms because women were not expected to work as long of hours when they were working, and so they needed some place to have a fainting couch because of corsets, and they needed a place to like work on their needlework during their break. Like, it is horribly sexist, the fact there are even gender separated bathrooms.
Yep.
That actually explains the couch I saw. I was
they slept.
I was in a
Lots of
closed
them.
I was in a closed mall, and I was like, okay, I got to see what the inside of this room looks like.
Right.
Wait, a closed mall?
A closed mall, like they were shutting down, and I was in the
Oh,
middle
like, okay,
when
gotcha.
everybody left. So,
He's being a creeper. Don't let him
Okay.
fool you.
well, I was curious,
Well,
and I was
you
like,
know.
oh, hey, I can sate my curiosity and not upset anybody. So, of course, and I saw a couch, and I was like, what the fuck is that about? And you literally just answered it. I've had that in the back of my head my entire life. Oh, that explains why there's a couch there.
Yeah,
Because
it's just
a tradition
some
thing.
traditional things that you keep carrying, and they've got this rich backstory you don't know about.
Yeah.
Oh no!
Uh-oh.
Is the producer saying it's time to go to break?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think they are.
All right, I guess it's time to go to break.
All right.
So let's do that.
Break time.
Anytime now, producer.
Hi, I'm Ash.
Hi, I'm Steven.
I write fan fiction.
I'm a podcaster and a comedian, and neither of us
Have seen a lot of movies, so we decided to get caught up.
on our catalog of movies, and while talking about it,
I decided that we should podcast all of it.
and now 2 years later, we're still at it.
And we're kind of a little bit more professional than ever. He wants to touch the
Heine.
Bryan Cranston, the one that
That
knocks,
is-
and the one that sends the Power Rangers have to go touch things.
know how to. He wants to get vertical on the Limbo Shack.
What the f-
She is your soulmate because the Lord has told me.
What? What? He wants to jump through that tent and into the canyon and fly away while holding a ketchup bottle. I don't know how it works.
He wants to Left Eye Lopez her Destiny's Child.
So join us every Monday on iTunes, Stitcher,
Or here on the Pants Pending Studios podcast network.
which you can find at pantspending.com.
.com.
I'm Burr Martin from the Burr Martin Experience podcast, one of the family-friendly podcasts at Pants Pending Studio. Now, the Pants Pending crew were kind enough to do a clean commercial for my podcast. I thought I'd return the favor. So listen up! Do we cuss on my show? No. But if that's all that's stopping you from listening, then you've also missed us talking about capturing doggy sperm in a candy bag, sex dolls, masturbating in a Wendy's, diarrhea, my brush with a porn star, and the case of the cross-dressing truck driver. So if that floats your boat, or at least gives you half a chub, then tune in, you piece of because the Burr Martin Experience podcast is the yo!
Do you want these on?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, huh.
No, you don't have... It's fine.
What, boss?
You hit the play button.
I don't know which button it is.
Oh, no.
I can't see.
No.
Quit hitting buttons.
If he hadn't fucked up the button, it would have been fine.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
Trying to help.
Take 2, boss.
Who doesn't like a nano hoedown?
Virtually no one.
Yeah, no, I'm saying. Everybody...
Yeah.
We're all nodding vigorously.
Wait, is this a Grey Goo situation?
What?
A what?
Vodka?
Grey Goose?
No, Grey Goo situation where all the
ooh.
nanobots take over because they replicate
Oh,
too much.
Goo.
In ever self-perpetuating nano
Right.
hoedown.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, that's old sci-fi / nanofear thing. If you build,
Nanofear.
if you make nanobots that can replicate themselves, one of the possible outcomes is a Grey Goo scenario where the nanobots just start taking everything apart
yeah.
to make more nanobots.
Yeah.
Stargate
Which would start with a-
replicators.
Yes. Which would start with, a nano hoedown.
Of course.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. At least it'd be fun, nano hoedown.
Oh yeah, of course.
I want to see the beginning of that movie.
But not the end.
Yeah.
Fuck all the take over the world. I just want to see the bad guys do a little hoedown before they start, wrecking the universe.
So you're proposing a sort of sci-fi sausage party.
Yes. I don't know. Is that a
Wow.
movie?
It's a movie.
It
yes.
is.
Sci-Fi
Yeah.
Sausage Party, Stephen Bateman, 2017.
Oh, man.
Oh, I hope that's not the episode title. 'Cause
Sci-fi sausage party.
that
It
would be
might.
very misleading.
It might. That would be very misleading, yes. It's like we have all women on the show now. Like, normally we don't have all women on the show. We usually have all men.
I'm assuming you mean as guests.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean.
I had to wrap it around my head. Like,
Like,
are you
it's
wait
not
a minute.
ladies' night.
like I'm not offended for myself. I'm offended for Will.
Yeah, some of us like to be manly, even though most of the time we're not.
So, none of us?
Like, somebody brought a gun into my work, and we had to call the maintenance guy to take the bullets out because I wasn't manly enough to know how.
Is the maintenance guy like on point? Like, oh, hey, I'm gonna be mopping and stuff, but in case you find a gun, I can also unload those. That's on my resume.
He was just bitching the whole time. He was like, it's going to cost me more money in gas to come do this, but it's a gun, so I figure
God.
I better.
He wasn't actually even in the building?
No! We called him at home!
Dude, call me. I may sit like a girl, but I know my way around a gun.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Hello, boss. Here's a random stranger we're going to trust this loaded 38 with.
No, I would have told you what to... You see this button liver thing?
It's a button liver?
It's one of two things.
Yeah, not the other lever. Don't pull that one.
Right? Now I pull this lever. No, stop it. You just stop.
Blam! Okay, you can never have a gun.
I mean, I
Anyway.
just shot a coworker, so I don't think he's ever going to be allowed to have a
Collateral
gun again.
damage.
That got dark really quick.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, it went from me not being a man to murder in about a minute 15.
Welcome to the never-ending
New
random
record.
discussion.
That's the fastest I've ever gotten to murder about comedy.
Murder about comedy, or is it a comedic murder?
It can be a little column A, a little column B. I had to be actively restrained from killing characters on Atheist Apocalypse.
So funny, considering that this... Have they announced about this?
Nope.
No, okay, I won't say it.
Oh.
That's interesting, considering the things that I can't talk about.
Yeah.
You have piqued curiosity.
Don't worry, it's not a great show.
Oh, I am very proud of that show. Thank you.
I know. I'm on it. So I'm, it's like calling this show awful, except this one's good. Yeah, see, I did it
Wow.
twice. Twice.
So
I
critical.
don't have a staunch agreement sound effect yet. Yeah, I need to get one.
Hold on, we'll just foley that now. Yes.
Crap. Mark the timestamp. I gotta have to pull that out now. No, I'm on it, and the only reason I don't like it is because I'm on it. Because I'm awful at acting.
That's not true.
That is entirely
But I don't
true.
need to reassure you on the air. We can do that later.
No. Don't waste
private.
your time.
Save that for cuddle time, gentlemen.
Yeah, I tried to. And
We
you
have our
wouldn't let me.
elevator trip next week.
That's true. Our elevator trip.
Yep.
We found a building with 12 elevators. They're all going to be cursed.
We're going to go to Chicago and go up one of those elevators.
There
I'm
you go.
pointing to the Sears Tower behind me.
Well, it's tall enough that it could be a whole relationship in an elevator. Pretty
I've
much.
had that.
That says a lot about your attitude towards relationships.
It's more experiential than preference.
It could be a
Relationship in an elevator. At first it's great, then it goes to crap.
Describes a number of my relationships, actually.
New on NBC next fall.
Relationship in an elevator. It's
no,
like a
think about it,
one-camera
though.
sitcom, but the set is this big.
Yeah.
Think about it, though. An elevator and relationship. Relationship in an elevator is...
Elevator in a relationship.
It's an interesting metaphor for failed relationships. Everything's good for a while, and then it's
It goes
not.
down.
You put a relationship in my elevator.
You got an elevator around my relationship.
We should make peanut butter cups.
You know, this
I love how this is getting all meta about elevators and relationships and
See, and this just brings to mind the relationship escalator issue
Yeah.
that I like. Wait a second.
Wait,
Okay.
There's
what
already
is
been
that?
a
Wait.
conveyance relationship.
Okay,
Yeah.
You're acting like you understand the relationship elevator,
Yes.
or relationship escalator.
yes.
Okay, so like, there's this certain prescribed, like, you get on the escalator of a relationship, and then there's this escalation of commitment and this script of what you're supposed to do in a relationship, and it starts with dating, and then it's, moves up to maybe moving in together, and then it moves up to possibly marriage, possibly a dog, and then it moves, like, you move up
Those
and up.
are the options.
I'm either going to get married or we're going to get a dog. Amanda and
Well-
I chose dogs. We're not legally married. That was the joke.
But like, there's this whole escalator of this is how a relationship is supposed to look, and if you have been on it long enough and you're not on step whatever, then there's something wrong with your relationship, and it's a totally screwed up view of
Oh,
relationships.
yeah, that is balls.
Yeah, it
but
is.
it's also totally normal. Like, you guys have been together for 15 years and you're not married. What's wrong?
Well, we just went for dogs over and over and over.
Right. But yeah, so that
18 dogs.
It's bringing to mind the escalator, which is not how relationships should work, because relationships should be individual and personal and tailored to the people who are in them.
But the thing with that, elevators versus escalators have one destination. You can get the fuck off an elevator whenever you want.
It's true.
Well,
Yeah, like,
I found the relationship escalator, and I can read you the steps if you'd like.
Ooh,
God.
ooh, I'm interested
Step
in that.
1, making contact. Flirting, casual occasional dates, and sex, parentheses, possibly.
Check.
Step 2, initiation. Romantic court-
No. Didn't you just initiate on the first one, possibly?
I'm just reading the fucking website.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's not Will's fault.
BlameOffEscalator.com for this.
Oh dear.
The good people at offescalator.com.
Yes. Step 3, claiming and defining.
Yep.
Mutual declaration.
Yep.
Defined. Okay. If
Step
if
4.
Amanda's
Check.
in the bathroom right now, she just heard me scream, "We're fucking." And that's it. Because this goes straight up to the bathroom.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Let her know what's going on tonight.
Step 4, establishment.
Buy a business. We gonna build a bar?
It's adapting the rhythms of your life to accommodate each other on an ongoing basis.
I still don't do that.
Yeah, so is that like the move-in phase, or is that the...
I think move-in phase is step 5. No, move-in phase is 2 down. Step 5 is commitment. Discussing or planning for a long-term shared future as a monogamous couple.
I'm going to commit to fucking you.
I'm committed to talking you!
Bingo.
That's your episode title.
Yes.
As well as typing.
Who else did that?
I did.
Yes!
Oh, that was just great seasoning to my original scream. That was.
Step 6 is merging, which is moving in together, sharing a home and finances.
I thought we're back to fucking. There's a lot of merging going on there.
Step 7 is conclusion. Getting married, legally
We're
acceptable.
getting over getting fucked.
And then step 8 is legacy. Buying a home, having and raising children, no longer as required as it once was, but often couples may not feel fully valid unless they hit these additional benchmarks post-marriage. Let me give myself one of these. All right.
See, Amanda and I skipped the paperwork and we went straight to legacy.
Yeah.
We bought a house, we had a kid on accident, and we've been together ever since.
Hey, that works.
That was the other way around.
You know,
though.
Pete and I bought a house after we not even really admitted we were dating for like 6 months. So, you know, I picked him up at a gay bar. We had a thing for a while, and then we ended up buying a house. And I'm not sure how that happened. But,
I was just about to ask how that happened.
well, somebody claimed, you know, hey, Andrea's a lesbian. And I said, no, I'm not. I'm bisexual. You know, there is a difference. And they said, well, fine. I've never seen you actually even flirt with a guy. Prove it. Kiss him. And so I did. And 10 years later, we're married.
Yeah. Wow.
That's an interesting story.
Yeah, that's a story we didn't tell Weekly World News and CNN when they asked. So, listeners to Nerd, you are getting the inside story.
Exclusive.
You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I had a really, really, really failed marriage when I decided to marry a whore, and it was a really bad idea.
Wow, that's a strong word.
Yeah.
Oh no, if it had legs
if
and a
it's-
heartbeat, including oh god, I'm on the air, I can't say that part. I'll tell you off air.
I know this story, and he's right.
Yeah, she's a whore, and
Well, maybe stop saying it all the time.
about my ex-wife being a whore.
Yeah. That's,
Oh right, I got
What
in
was
trouble
that about
for that
your
once.
ex-wife being a whore?
I got in trouble for that once a long time ago. Is this elevator music? Because we're talking about elevators?
Kind of elevator-y porn music.
Wait, porn?
Kind of porn?
Well, technically, the track title is Deep Throat Theme.
Wow.
this matches no deep throat that I can think of.
I don't think... I'm not even going to make the small dick joke. I'm going to avoid it.
Probably a good idea at this point. Yeah.
I'm thinking this, and none of this says political intrigue or mouth fucking.
True.
Well, that was crude.
Episode has gone downhill.
They
Very
usually
Just
do.
a little bit.
I needed to tag that joke in a way that would make people laugh.
Hey,
Nobody's-
let's do something a little bit more innocent.
Yes, let's.
A little more family friendly.
Yeah.
We've committed to fucking enough.
Come back in the room, kids. You can listen again.
Back.
So I know that your parents just kicked you out of the room because we were saying dirty things, but you can come back now. We're not gonna say any more fucking words.
Why do you think people are gathering the family around to listen to a nerd, and then they hear one of us go, "I commit to fucking you," and they're like, "Kids, get out! Kids, get out! This is
Get out
adult
now."
information."
We are a place of laughter and learning.
Sure.
Good to know.
More of the first one than the second.
Well, I mean, the second one happened a lot in the first segment for a lot of people.
That's
True.
true. That is true.
True.
Boom.
Mission accomplished.
Yay! He took time out of his taxes to do this.
What's a doxis? Anyway, so we spoke about this in the break.
Yes.
And I would like to a little bit of throw the spotlight on Andrea, and she's going to ask some cool questions.
All right, so I am going to grab random questions from my Deco questions. Let's start with episode 2 of 1,000 Things to Talk About.
Wow.
Is self-denial inherently good, inherently bad, or only good when undertaken for a good reason?
What is self-denial in this context?
So self-denial, well, it's whatever context you care to give it. The research that we talked about in this, in this particular episode, we talked about the research of the process of denying yourself something. So I'm not going to do that, or I'm going to not think about that, or I'm not going to work on that. You know, denying yourself.
Oh, okay. All right. So it's more belaying your nature than...
Right. So is that good or bad, or does it depend on why you're doing it?
I'm going to say it definitely depends on why you're doing it. I suffer from several forms of mental illness, so there's a lot of self things that I have to stop myself from doing. Granted, the medication's making it easier, but if I didn't put up my own conscious checks, I would treat everyone like they were completely beneath me, because a part of my brain thinks that I'm the superior one. I know that not to be true. My conscious brain knows that not to be true, but I still have to stop myself, and I still fail sometimes. And I'll come off as a condescending asshole because part of me thinks that, and the other most of me is not thinking that, and sometimes I can let my guard down. It usually happens when I'm in a funk. Actually, I commented on one of your other questions in a similar way. Is that when I'm in a funk, I still think I'm saying all the right things, but I immediately come across to anyone around me as a condescending douchebag because I don't actually notice what I'm saying or doing.
Right.
So it does depend on the situation.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, and I think a lot of it really does come down to situational, but there's also the fact that denying yourself something sets off all kinds of serotonin receptors in your brain, because when you're saying, I don't want this, or I'm not taking this, or I'm not going to do this, then you're actually causing your brain pleasure, because it's going, oh, well, I'm doing something for a good reason, and it ends up becoming a moral judgment. So you end up in situations where people are like, well, I am not going to eat sugar, and nobody should eat sugar because sugar is the worst thing ever. And then you end up in the cycle of proving to yourself that you're a good person because you're denying yourself something. And then it causes you more pleasure if you ever give it back to yourself. So there's that whole situational thing. But there's also some really intriguing research out there about how our ability to deny something that is objectively true may be one of the things that makes us human. Which, I mean, can come around to a lot of things. One of the researchers that I read about is actually talking about sex and gender in that particular context, to bring it here full circle. But our ability to question the bodies that we were born in and question the sexuality that we feel is something that other species don't really do. Or if they do, it's not necessarily on a fully conscious decision-making level. Which I find very intriguing, but whether the whole moral judgment of it is that good or bad is what I'm really intrigued with.
Right. Oh, well, yeah, and morality is kind of not an objective thing.
Right.
So I tend to view self-denial as a bad, only because in my mind, self-denial means being dishonest with oneself. You know, clearly I have trouble with food. I am a hefty gentleman, for people who can't see below my neckline.
So everyone that's tuning in?
Yeah, basically. But I've only really started to figure out my life in the past, 6-7 years, because I stopped trying to pretend I was something that I'm not. I'm not like a regular dude who's going to run a business and have a normal life. My life is always going to be full of like podcasting and comedy and weird moments where I'm not sure where my next paycheck is going to come from, because I'm not the kind of guy to settle down and do one thing for the rest of my life. And for 30 years, give or take my childhood, I kind of tried to fit into that thing that I'm not, and it made me a crazy person.
Fair enough.
So I think denying yourself is bad, full stop, but don't hurt anybody with your stuff. I think be honest and talk about who you are, even if it offends people.
Do you hear that, vegans?
Yeah. I might still make fun of vegans, but I would rather hear about it than not. Because then I know who not to offer bacon to.
I'll still offer them bacon.
And I would say that I would agree. I think that self-denial is a bad thing. Again, bringing it back to sex and gender, you know, being someone who was assigned a certain way that didn't identify that way. I kind of, to echo what Steven said, I mean, I pretended to be that person for so long, and, you know, ended up to a degree, drove myself crazy. I mean, through, you know, addictions, through, you know, any number of different things. And, you know, but like you said, when you're denying yourself, it kind of almost works like almost like a switch in the brain where you crave it because it feels good, because you're denying yourself something. And, you know, and it obviously ends up leading to bigger issues down the road.
Yeah. So, yeah. For more on that research, check out episode 2. Shall we do another one?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, this is getting interesting.
Let's go for question 7. We're going early in the library here. Is an inaccurate token representation preferable to no representation?
Ooh,
that's hard.
That is a good question.
See, I jumped straight into cinematics and film, where you know, you want to have that diversity hire, but that diversity hire is a giant stereotype that everybody just, the token black guy in a movie. He's always the one that smokes weed and breaks the law and talks funny. When I've met many people of color that are just normal people, because that's what they are. That's what they all are. It's just normal people. They're not all hipster hipster ganger wannabes. Hip gangster. That's what was happening. Wannabes.
Hip gangster.
Yeah, and I went hipster gank for some reason.
Hipster gang.
You know, and you know, they don't all smoke weed, but that's just like there's anything wrong with that. But I think it's harmful because you're putting that in the spotlight. You're putting that is what black people are. That is what trans people are. That is what lesbians are. That's not. Like that, I think it's harmful, honestly.
Is it more or less harmful than having no representation, though? Because it's choosing which one's better out of two awful things. Like,
I kind of have a scenario I can compare this to.
Yeah, okay.
Like, a few years ago, I was working at a place, and I was standing outside having a cigarette. And I'm a gentleman of larger carriage. Just imagine Stephen, but a little better looking.
I love how
And so I was standing outside having a cigarette, and I saw another larger gentleman walking towards the building. And I saw he was wearing slacks. He had a shirt with a tie, but the shirt didn't completely cover his tummy tums. So some of his stomach was hanging out. And in my mind, I wanted to pick him up and shake him and just be like, you're making it harder for us. In a way, I would rather be a mystery. Have like, oh my God, that's a fat guy. What do we do with him? Than, oh my God, he's a slovenly piece of garbage. I think a lot of people who are stereotyped, I would assume, obviously I don't know, I can only go from my own experiences, but I would assume a lot of people who are stereotyped would feel similarly.
I can imagine that, and as a guy who's kind of now a casting director, in that I'm creating a thing and I'm casting roles for it.
I like how he slips that in anytime he wants to offer that to someone, like, you should, do a part in my thing
I'm bringing it up specifically because it's relevant, because I've had to think a lot about the notion of forced diversity in media. Because a couple of years ago, I'd have been like, no representation is better than bullshit representation. But they both kind of suck. I've had to wrestle with that because I want to include space for people who wouldn't normally have a platform. But I didn't know how to do it without coming off as condescending or like, look, I made this hole for you, gay guy, get in there. I never wanted to do that. The decision I came down to was I don't define any of that stuff about my characters now. Now it's all just a personality trait. And the whole idea is audition for whatever you think you can do. Audition for whatever you want. I want to hear it. If it's good enough, I will change the character to suit you.
Which there's one podcast out there called The Once and Future Nerd. I was just looking up the topic that I think does that extraordinarily well, because some of their characters are individuals of color, and I think some of their characters might be queer in some form or fashion. I'm not entirely sure, but that's part of what I love about it, is you don't even realize that some of their characters are individuals of color until they mention it, like season 2, book 2, or like pretty far in.
Yeah, there was a conversation between two of the main characters that I actually rather liked. I don't know what episode, but it was the token white dude, for lack of a better description, was like, man, I hate cops. And the person of color lead said, you hate cops. And I was like, okay, all right, I see it. All right, I dig that.
There's also the audio drama, The Deep Vault, which was just a short one. It's pretty much done. But I'm fairly certain that they were actually a polytriad, but it never actually got openly discussed, which I think, given the option of terrible representation or what used to be called window advertising, way back in the day when gay window advertising had to be a thing and you had to hide.
Gay window advertising.
So communications theory that talks about how you would put out advertising or communications that would speak to a particular underrepresented group without being obvious about it. So like travel companies would put out ads that just have 2 sets of feet under sheets, and you couldn't really identify what gender the feet were. But if you looked closely, they were both manicured. Like, if you look really closely, then it's speaking to a particular group. But if you just kind of glance over it, it wouldn't even register. So it's window advertising because it's looking through a window to a particular group without being obvious about it. Which, given the option between no representation or really bad token representation, I think window's kind of the interesting middle ground behind that. But that also takes a shit ton of work to get right.
I can totally imagine that.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's one of the things I'm obviously fascinated with, but yeah. I don't know. There's enough bad representation out there of enough of the groups that I am a part of that I think about that a lot. But Gabby Sidby had a quote, if I see myself, then I know I exist, which I really, really like.
I dig that.
Yeah.
Mirrors.
Yeah.
Mirrors. I don't know why the word mirrors made me laugh so hard. Just the way you said it. Mirrors. Those sons of bitches.
Mirrors totally exist.
Mirrors, how do they work?
Well, shall we do one more?
Yeah,
All right.
sure.
How much dirty laundry should be aired in public? This is episode 19.
That is
Preferably
damn-
none.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're in Walmart, then, have at it.
Well, if you're in Walmart, lots of things are allowed that
Yeah.
suddenly aren't allowed in real society.
I feel like the only place to air dirty laundry that would be okay would be like a Jerry Springer show. Like, really, just do it.
Yeah, well, if you're going to be on Jerry Springer,
go
you already
all balls.
have a
Yeah.
certain perspective on that.
Right?
All balls to the wall.
I'm more of a discreet person. If I have a problem, I want to bring it up. I want to bring it up in a closed space because the one thing I never want to do is take somebody's dignity. I want everybody, regardless of what problems I have with them, to maintain their dignity, even 45. As much as I loathe that guy, I still want him to come out of this with a modicum of dignity. I don't want to take away his humanity because he's just a person. He's a person who is inexplicably stuck on a fence post he can't escape from.
It's shoved right up his ass.
Among other things.
Oh, well. we can talk about that all day.
I think it depends on the revealer. Like, I feel very free airing my own dirty laundry because usually it's kind of confessional. It gets it out of my head, and I'll usually turn it into comedy. But I would hesitate to air any of like Andrew or Steven's dirty laundry unless I knew for sure that they were okay with it.
Which I appreciate because I got a lot of dirty laundry.
It's true. I saw his drawers earlier.
Yeah, it was
Still
just
wearing
flies. It was just flies coming out of that drawer. It was weird.
Wow.
Just solid column of flies, 6 foot wide.
So here's an interesting twist to this. When I first asked this question, it was because the newspaper published a list of Johns of a particular establishment in town. And there's some major health implications there. Because if somebody you are seeing has been seeing individuals who may or may not be having safe sex, at what point does the public health implications override that?
Interesting.
That is an interesting question. I'm not sure that I would want that information out there if it were me, but
Sure.
I'm too timid to ever do that. So
Fair.
but on the other hand, yeah, there is the possibility of STD or STI now. I think it's called. I am terrible.
Subaru
at keeping up.
WRX STI.
Yes, that one. There's a lot of cars in society now.
I just brought up the list, and while I don't see the name Stephen Bateman, I do see the name Bevan Stateman.
Oh, that must be a different person from me entirely.
Totally.
Oh, okay.
That name sounds very Germanic in origin.
That was weird.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
It wasn't for somebody. It wasn't for somebody named Tiffany, spelled with an IE, was it?
Speaking of dirty
With a heart
laundry,
over the eye.
Yes, hard over there, of course.
I shall not air your dirty laundry without permission.
All right. I think we've actually reached a specific point of this segment.
Yeah, I'll get up.
Yeah, get out of here. All right, listeners, it's your favorite time of the show, probably, maybe, maybe not. It is time for Dr. Donut to react to the news.
You should have more confidence when introducing me.
I don't know if people like you or not. I've only heard about one person.
Well, assume they are 100% of the audience until told otherwise. Let me just get up here.
Welcome.
These new mics are still amazing. They're wonderful.
Well, you get to pull it down to your...
Exactly. I can pull it down right to my height.
except now you've got frosting all over it.
I'm sorry. I had to hastily...
It's Steven's mic, so
I
it's
had
not
a-
unusual.
It's not unusual.
Can I fucking talk on my own show? I had to put
No,
frosting
wait.
on, but I didn't want to match, so I had to hastily change the
Your
car.
show?
Yes, my show.
It's not your show.
I own everything.
No.
It is mine.
No.
Whether you're aware of it or not, you're part of my empire.
I really appreciate that the first thing he didn't say was it's about goddamn time, because that's what he always says. I'm so glad that, this time he's 11 minutes early.
But I mean, you keep complaining and we waste 2 minutes every time. I say, no, it's about goddamn time you've brought me in. And you say, well, we brought you in the same time last week. And I say, well, it's about goddamn time anyway. We just complain. It's 2 minutes wasted.
I feel like that was 2 minutes wasted.
I don't know what you're talking about. That was perfect.
Oh, man. All right, so, gals, you guys have the chance to answer some questions when he's done. But what do we got today, Doc?
I feel like this is still a little too officious for me.
You don't get Jeremy's. Jeremy's is too doopy for
Well,
you.
I don't want doopy. I just want something a little more sinister. I mean, I am a villain after all.
But you're here with the news, and just shut up.
Yeah, fair point. I guess can't argue. For the first time in years, Montreal police back in regulation pants. Yes, that reaction I had to this news article is perfect for this network.
Well chosen.
Wow.
I love all the reactions. This was great. Police Brotherhood calls off pressure tactic until Friday night. Negotiations with city ramp up. I want to see how those two thoughts are connected.
Pressure and pants in the same thought.
Yeah.
I had a lot of that in high school. Pants pressure.
I don't know what that's like.
Because he's agender.
Yes, that's right. And you didn't even say the dumb joke you usually do.
Wouldn't it be,
I figured it might be offensive.
wouldn't it be their agender?
Hey,
Well,
agender?
I mean, if he prefers his pronouns,
Yeah, fair.
whatever pronouns.
I mean, I'm usually robbing people, so I'm not going to stop and correct their pronoun usage. I mean, I'm a villain, but I have a lot of things to do. There's a lot of satellite maintenance in my schedule. I don't really have time.
I feel like I just got really awkward for a second. I make a dumb joke every time he says I'm agender. I say which one?
Oh, gotcha.
Because I'm being
Yeah.
obviously ignorant.
Of course,
you know, and
yeah.
that's the whole joke behind that.
Yeah.
And I just
Still
immediately
offended.
felt. Yeah, see, and I immediately felt like if I don't. What?
Was that a pun?
If I don't come across as willfully ignorant as that is, it may be taken seriously, and that would be probably offensive.
Well, rest assured, if I or any person who might be responsible for the things I say had a real problem with it, you would have heard about it a long time ago, and certainly
these
not on your own show.
But these are things that I was saying, not
Fair
you.
point.
You're usually pretty, he's pretty unoffensive for a villain.
Well, look, it's villainy. I don't have to be an asshole about it.
Yeah, that's
I
my
can
job.
rob people and still be a gentleman.
That's a quote right there.
That is
That is a quote.
I think he's already writing that note, so go ahead. We got
Someone's
news.
already taken care of it. Oh, good Lord, I didn't notice there was a fifth person.
Well, you probably can't see
new.
beyond the new.
How do you not notice me?
Well, normally within minutes of seeing you, you're talking about how I'm on your dick sometimes.
Rode in on a dick. Yep, that's a thing.
Fair
Anyway,
point.
news.
After almost 3 years of sporting colorful camouflage pants, Montreal police officers will once again be wearing their regulation uniforms, at least for a few days. The police union says, as a way to reach out to the city after positive contract negotiations, its officers will temporarily ditch the pants, which they have been wearing as a pressure tactic until Friday night.
So are they yoga pants? Is that what we're hearing right now?
I think so. There is a picture, and one of them is wearing leggings, and the
Oh.
other is wearing just cow print pajamas.
A lot of junk under pressure. Move on.
The directive affects about 4,600 officers who have been wearing the camouflage pants and other unique-looking bottoms since 2014. I swear to God, I'm not normally this immature.
Pants with unique bottoms. I just. Yeah.
So like a chandelier, maybe? When Philippe Collard's Liberal government introduced municipal pension reform. I've never said the word municipal before. The Montreal police have been without a contract since 2015 and are in the midst of an intense round of bargaining. In a statement, Mayor Denise Coderre.
That was very French of you.
I don't know that.
Coderre.
I might have a voice disease. Said his administration was happy about this gesture of openness from the union, but that there is much more work to do before the two sides reach an agreement. The union says the pressure tactic will resume Friday night at 11 p.m. unless otherwise stated.
Are you turning Spanish?
No, shush! Do not put me in my head about my own accent.
Doctor, whatever donut is in Spanish. Oh.
It's his alternate personality.
Look,
You're a guy developing a differential personality disorder?
Oh, probably.
Is that this
Or dissociative identity disorder. I'm sorry. My apologies.
Is that this? God damn it! Split. It's the split disease.
Yeah. Yeah, that.
Oh, you mean like that movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I hope
Only not as fun.
well. So I can't imagine anything is as fun as what happens in a movie.
People hated that movie so much, and like a lot of mental health advocates got really mad about it. I am a mental health advocate, and they just need to calm the fuck down. Like this is a made up disease for one, and two, he's a villain. Like he's got to have a thing, and so they gave him a made up disease, and literally this does not exist. Like there is multiple personality disorders, sure, but these are complete different people, literally different people inside this guy's head. It's a fantasy disease. So they just need to calm down and suspend your goddamn disbelief and enjoy a movie. Anyway, Doc,
Well,
I'm sorry.
there's
Soapboxing.
arguments about representation or what have you, but that's... I'm sorry, my phone is going off. Let me try to address that as quickly as possible.
We're going to get sued.
Thank God I have an Android, and iPhone would have kept on for another minute. Let's see. In April, Quebec Public Security Minister Martin Coiteau he tabled a bill aimed to force officers to shelve their camouflage pants. Officers who refused to comply with the law would have faced fines ranging from $500 to $3,000 per day. But the Liberals were unable to pass the bill before the legislative session wrapped up this spring.
Feeling a little pressured tonight, Doc?
Oh, a lot of pressure. I've got multiple schemes in the works that I'm not sure that they will resolve by the time this episode's over.
Okay.
I won't bother to fill in any details. I'll just let you imagine. Oh, dear Lord.
You just, now you have to.
Now I have to fill in details?
Yes. This is your evil plan? So.
Yeah, I was told this is the evil plan music.
I don't remember any conversation about this, but...
It happened every time you've been here.
Fair.
For the last few weeks.
I mean, lots of things happen while I'm here that usually aren't regular things. Like all of the harassment will usually lauds upon me.
He's grown.
He has grown as a person. And also shrank, I heard.
So what are your evil plans?
Right now what I'm attempting to do is leveraging the market pressure of Magic the Gathering fans by releasing bootleg cards in every card shop in London. That's right. As of now, I've released 3,200 Black Lotuses that are entirely artificial. This card is worth $2,000 on its own.
How do you live with yourself, Dr. Donut?
I'm a villain. It's what I must do.
That's true.
Yeah.
But he's likable for some reason.
Are you
Somehow.
selling these cards?
No. I've distributed them for free. The whole intent is to disrupt a market so that other card games can be introduced.
So you're not selling them in order to make the money to pay the Quebec police to wear really silly pants?
No, not at all. No, that's something else entirely. I have nothing to do with the pants. No, my villainy is a sort of a chaos and dismay sort of villainy. It is not mine to steal, though I do attempt to steal. I prefer more to disrupt social structures in order to affect some kind of change, whether it be good or bad.
The more you talk about it, the more I think you might be behind this Quebec police thing, because cow print pants on the cops?
And strange bottoms?
Yeah.
Oh, believe me, I wish it were my idea. It's so good. It should have been mine, but it's not. Unfortunately, some other better villain caught to it.
It was probably Justin Trudeau.
I'd like to blame him for a lot of things, but he's too handsome.
And that handshake.
Oh, that firm handshake. And that time he tried to flail an apricot around with it.
What?
Wait, what?
Yeah, okay, it didn't land. I get it.
That was perfect use of that sound effect.
Somebody has to serve as your example. It's the first time you've ever used it in this show.
It's true.
So that's basically it. I'm just screwing with false markets in order to open up opportunities for myself.
What's next, Dr. Donut?
I'm going to release a card game that is terrible but cheap.
Terrible and cheap.
Terrible and cheap.
So like Super Fight.
Pokemon?
Or like Munchkin.
I hate that game.
Everyone hates that game, but everyone plays it.
How can you hate that game?
I don't
See, right
hate
there.
that game.
There you go.
I'm
Not
with-
everyone, apparently.
Yeah.
Just a lot of people hate it. By my count, 40%. Nope. That's
And
not
they're
right.
wrong.
Nope. 40% of people hate it and are wrong.
I disagree on both of those numbers.
What?
A lot of people like it,
Oh, I'm sure.
but they're wrong. They laughed at my joke.
Way to
That
rub it
was
in.
an opinionated car crash.
So the real question is, what interesting bottoms would you wear, Dr. Donut?
Chaps.
With or without underpants?
I don't wear underpants as a general rule. I don't really need to wear clothes. I'm a donut.
But you do.
Well,
it's frosting.
It's
frosting.
the uniform and then the frosting, of course. I hate to go out as just a plain donut. It'd be boring. Who would remember me?
And your agendered junk would be hanging out.
I don't have any junk. That's the whole point.
Is that what the sprinkles are?
No. They're like brooches or flare.
Many, many nipples.
There you go.
Well, I mean, I suppose they could be nipples. There are nipples. Thousands and millions out there. I don't know that I'd want to wear those all the time. I'm trying to build a reputation based on fear, not necessarily absurdity.
You're a talking donut, for fuck's sake. You're kind of absurd.
My work is cut out for me. Then I don't need to layer it on with absurd bachelor party grade nonsense. This is the most amused anybody has ever been in my presence.
Oh. You're
Yay,
correct.
I won a point on Family Feud.
Is that Family Feud?
It's Wheel of Fortune
I was
when you
gonna
get a
say,
letter.
when you get a letter, yeah.
Yeah, you hear one prize ding, you hear them all.
That's like I knew, because I knew the from the other one he has, which is, of course, you didn't get the letter.
I never get the letter.
Give me an E!
Get your own E.
It's only the most used letter in the alphabet. Anyway, Doc, did you guys have any questions for him before I kick him out?
I think I've already asked enough.
I think they've learned enough about me to know to fear me.
All right, good. Bye, Doc.
All right, I'll get out of here.
Bye.
Just climb down this
Bye.
table leg. Just walk across this carpet.
Don't let the dog get you on the way out.
No, I will cast that dog. So many attacks.
Leave.
Slam!
Thank you. All right. Gonna wait for the slam, because he actually has to shut the door before we can stop hearing him. Oh, man.
Slam.
Why did Will leave? He's the producer. He should not have left.
Guess
God damn it, they're
we're
both
just
gone.
going.
Said something
Going
about
off.
Vegas.
Yeah, that didn't spread.
Oh,
They're probably
there you
getting
go.
married.
Mm-hmm.
So they can eat lots of each other.
Perfect.
He's gross. All right, so I'm picturing Will eating a donut, and I don't know why that grosses me out.
Ouch.
What the fuck?
Yeah, he's back. There he is.
Yay.
I got him back in the studio. That was
I
fun.
just walked in some conversational shrapnel. All I heard was
Trademark, Andrea. That happened off air, so I figured, for the listeners, that came from her. Because it's the best thing ever, and people are going to steal it. Me. Just,
Well, I know who to blame now.
yeah.
it's his fault.
I'm an internet celebrity, so it's going to catch on.
Stop
Of
stealing
course.
Burr's bit.
That's actually Eric's bit. Burr is actually an internet celebrity. We'll be right back.
Oh, hey there. I didn't notice you sitting there. Thanks for joining me. My name is Dees. I'm the host of the Social Hour podcast. I've just been sitting here, sipping on some Earl Grey tea by the fireplace in my satin robe, just watching the rain come down and thinking about how the heads at the Pants Pending Network wanted me to do a family-friendly promo for the Social Hour to show that it's a program that can be shared by everyone in the family. So here's some clips from the show that the whole gang can sit down and enjoy. Really? We've got none? Like 0? Oh, what the
Get ready for the social hour.
Next time on a very special episode of The Hustle.
You're not allowed to hang out with Billy Thompson anymore.
Oh, damn it. Hate you. I'm going to live with my real dad.
Oh, you're not to talk about Daryl that way. He gave you up. I'm the one that raised you.
Oh, well, you know what? You're doing a shitty job at that. I bet you only got fucking vanilla ice cream like a dick.
Oh, here we go.
At least Daryl can give me something fun like Rocky Road or like Spumoni. I don't know.
Well, maybe if Daryl took his time raising you, he wouldn't have the money.
Well, fine. I'll go see because I want to live with him.
Oh, you fucking do it.
Yeah, I will. Daryl, you busy? Okay, I'll call you back later.
How'd it go?
He's doing things. You
Yeah.
wouldn't know. He's doing the big, important, stupid things. You're stupid.
He's doing meth.
Shut up. He's not doing meth. You don't know him. You don't know anything.
Hustle. That's right, it's The Hustle with your hosts Adam Tucker, Travis Powell with the news, and occasionally Will Gilman. You can find more Hustle at pantspending.com/hustle.
I know you got to get your hustle on, so I pray.
Pants Pending.
And welcome back. Okay, so listeners will know that we ended the Amazon review bit. It was fun, but it ran out of steam. You know how it goes. You know, something stops being funny once you've done it for 4 or 5 months.
I love the irony that we ended the bit on the funniest fucking time we ever did it. Like, that last one was fucking amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Defortification times 3. Listen to that episode.
That was a very good Amazon read down.
Oh yeah, it was good.
So I concocted this thing. It's based on a production by a couple theaters in Los Angeles. What they would do is feed the scene as it plays through Google Voice, and then have the speech to text translate it back, and that's where they would get a majority of their errors.
The scene. The scene.
The scene, whatever scene.
Okay,
Yeah,
so you're presented without context, is all.
Okay, yeah. They did an episode. They did a version of this with the Phantom Menace, which was hilarious in its own right. I thought, what the hell, dude? You know, there is a piece of technology that mangles words the more you mess with it, and that is Google Translate. So I thought, well, you know, I'll just run it through half a dozen languages and see what we come up with. So in this particular instance, I started at English. I went to Spanish, then back to English, then to Greek, then back to English.
Wow.
Then to Italian, and then back to English. Then to Japanese, then back to English. Then Vietnamese, and back to English. And I think that's where I stopped.
All right.
All right.
This, dear listeners, is our presentation of Shawshank Redemption, featuring the narrator, portrayed by Andrea, Hadley, portrayed by Andrea, the character Salmon, presented by Steven, Mert, Candy, and Floyd will be played by Will, Haywood and Dirty will be played by Lexi, and Andy will be played by Andrew.
Surprise!
And we begin.
57, license renewal. Mission, facilities, date 1949, 57. Foam and smoke. Add DOS Cube Concert, clean your arms and tie the rope to your arm. Halata is taught. Camera, dismantle the tail case by building. 58, box 58. Details are directed to details. Men are sinking. Big brush pad and pitch spread anger of birds, she whispered to her companion. According to the lawyer, said, he is far from Texas. He said, Brian Hadley, I say so. I'm sorry to inform you, but my brother just died.
Dumb, Byron. I am disgusted when I hear this.
I do not have. He is an idiot. Escape a few years ago. We had not heard from her family. Anyway, I think he's dead. According to this lawyer, he killed the rich oil well and about $1 million. My God is extremely wonderful. Good luck. He can get some food.
$1 million? Jessica Louise, yours. Buy money now?
$35,000. Leave.
Dollar shit, that's great. How to get a draw? Absent?
What do you mean? Will the government shoot me? What happens with a big white bite from my ass?
Oh, I do not think so.
Maybe I was also divided to get a new one. So what's wrong? Yours. Taxes are paid by car. Repair and maintenance, kids. I will take them on foot.
And then Mert said something.
Oh. If it's big enough, get in the car.
You're right. You want this. He wants to know that, for Christ's sake. And at the end of the year, if you charge the wrong tax, you pay it in your pocket. Uncle Sam puts his hand in his hand. Tight your name with your shirt purple. Always make it short. Final. This is true. Flip side. Brother, damned. Prisoners stop the spread of kerosene and watch their work.
Haywood?
Am I Haywood?
I think you
yes,
you
me.
are.
Bad Byron. What a terrible curse opportunity. Think about inheritance for about 30 years. $5,000. Shy? I have a few. A terrible mistake.
He looked at the red face and was surprised to see Andy standing. Listen to the talking guard.
Hello? Are you crazy? You're cubes.
Andy threw the board at the cow and headed for Hadley.
Andy! Return! Damned!
What are you...
What are you doing? He committed suicide.
Sing! Make sure the guard has nerve.
The security staff spread Andy's method. Get young blood with rivets. Click, clock, tower! Protect your rifle. Hadley is happy to come back and find Andy.
Okay, Hadley, do you believe in your wife?
The measurement is very fun. Up here, suck the birds without making them happier. Great teeth.
I think you try to go later. Do you hurt your dog?
It! In addition, Mart, my dog has an accident. Hadley took Andy's collar and brought her violently to her. The end of the roof. Cover the normal coal pit.
My God. We will fly him from the roof.
What? Where are we? Damned.
If you believe him, there is no reason why you cannot do it in the world. Save all the coins for that amount.
Hadley confused Andy for a while. And Andy, beyond balance, shoes. I'm digging a roof. The only thing in the middle is a bad depression. Concrete is Hadley's arm in front of your shirt. Start the logic is better.
If you want to protect this money, all now, give it to your wife. IRS, Kokana is just a gift. This is beautiful $60,000.
Mind, this is not true. It is out of sight.
It is not desirable. The IRS cannot touch the coin. The downside, all be affected by business discussions and will stop working.
Intelligent banker sent in shooting. His wife. Why should I trust someone? I can make intelligent bunkers like you. I will end here with you.
It is not realistic. To ask him, the IRS will say the same thing. Actually, I feel stupid to tell you. That is all. He was convinced. You learn yourself.
Man.
And that has been our presentation of the Shawshank Redemption.
I want to make note that that was one of my favorite scenes from one of my favorite movies.
It's certainly the one that stuck with me, because I was thinking, like, how do I get 4 or 5 characters into this? And that was the first scene I thought of, like, oh, dude, that has characters all over the place.
That it does. Do you believe in your dog?
Click, clack, tower.
Click, clack, tower.
Oh, man. That's good. I like it.
Oh, that's good.
When I lost my place that last time, I was taking down Click Clack Tower as a potential episode title.
All caps.
Exactly.
I kind of like that as an episode title.
That was good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, we're done with the third segment bet so quickly.
I know. Now we can just sit and talk to each other like humans.
Okay.
Yay.
Wait, what?
Let's do that.
So.
There we go. I was looking for the awkward silence.
I actually have a thing that I kind of want to throw at you guys. I saw this today while looking for scripts, actually, so it ties together really neatly. KFC is launching a chicken sandwich into space.
Why?
Because it's KFC. They didn't say why. They're just doing it. They're going to put a chicken sandwich in space.
More power
for 4
to
days.
them.
I mean,
okay.
For 4 days.
I think it's just that's going to be the equivalent of the YouTube commenter. First.
Yeah, pretty much.
I think they're just doing it, but I've seen a lot of advertising from fast food places, and it's gone away from, hey, we have really good food. Look how fucking zany we are. I mean, look at anything Arby's does right now. They're making
They have the meat.
They have the meat. They're also on their social media side. They're flying into space.
Oh, okay, I get it.
Gotcha.
So, have you ever paid attention to Denny's Twitter account?
No, I can't say that I have.
Yeah, talking about going all kinds of crazy. Like, there are times that I start to seriously wonder if the person running Denny's Twitter account is just hungover and shit at work, because it is the weirdest ass stuff you will ever find, and yet somehow it works. And I have no idea how, but it does.
That actually brings up a really interesting point. No joking. Like, I'm not saying don't joke. I'm just saying that. So everybody's seen the Wendy's Twitter.
Yep.
Right. That's like that's your shining glorious Wendy's Twitter. She quit.
Yep.
And
really?
Yeah, she wrote out this just huge blog post about why.
Yeah.
And she basically, when that happened, when she started that job, she was already in a bad place with mental illness and everything. And then, she's an introvert type of person, but she's behind the keyboard. And being this snarky Wendy's Twitter social person, and it essentially destroyed her because she did all this funny stuff, but she would just get harassed, and people would stalk her, and they'd find her personally, and
that's scary.
Threats.
Ooh.
And
Wow.
and it's just it destroyed her who she was.
Of course.
So she rocked out, she couldn't do that anymore, and it was just, I found that really interesting, considering I am trying to be as famous as Wendy's Twitter, and it just makes me wonder, I got a family. People are awful. Do I really want to mix those worlds?
Right.
Yes, but
Something to
still,
consider.
No, I mean, seriously, the amount of crap that you get from the internet is one of those things that you have to have a very particular skill set to deal with, because I know when Pete and I's wedding ended up going viral and we had all of that kind of stuff.
I don't. Your wedding went viral?
Right. So wedding cans from about 7 years ago. We collected 400,000 aluminum cans to pay for our wedding.
Wow.
We were on the cover of the Weekly World News, Yahoo.com.
Oh, neat.
The CNN. That was my throw to CNN when I was saying, when CNN asked us how we met. Yeah, we said through friends.
I thought you were being sarcastic.
No, that actually was the case. We did a press junket where we did 47 interviews in one morning, and it was it's a thing. So if you just Google wedding cans couple, I think it still comes up. But anyway, the amount of that we got when that whole thing came out is just I curse. It's a habit. I'm sorry.
I know, I do it too. The silencing I used to do with Verity a lot. I do with other people's kids now.
Yeah. But it's just, I think the biggest thing is you have to be in a mental place where you can have all of that roll off of you. And I think that there's a certain point for individuals who are outside of the norm in the first place where that's a little bit easier, because you get a lot more practiced in it, which I think is why all the weird people are the ones who do really well on social, because we can kind of go, yeah, you're saying that I'm fat and should never find love in my life. Yep, I'm fat and I found love, so deal with it.
Right.
But it's a particular skill set, and even if you have that, it gets really, really grating sometimes, and you just have to figure out how to deal with it, which some people don't have the ability to do, and that's okay.
Yeah. And having the spotlight, even before the internet and its fame, has always been like that.
Well, But with the internet now, there's a sort of an immediate channel for people to be awful.
I'm not saying it's not worse now.
Yeah,
It's most certainly worse.
I don't know about worse or better, but I imagine pre-internet, those creepy fame guys had to do a lot more work to let you know how shitty they thought you were.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas now, they're like on a couch and like, well, I got Twitter. I'm just going to call this guy a slur on TV because I don't like him very much.
Although I think it does open up a lot more possibility of... Lindy West did a great This American Life episode where she actually found one of her trolls and just ended up talking to one of her trolls. And what ended up happening in that situation is she actually empathized with him a lot more than she expected to because he was expressing his internal frustration at his body size by trolling somebody who is happily and out as fat. And that's what I keep going back to whenever there are the shitheads on the internet who make my life hell and I am like itty bitty little teeny tiny in the world of the internet when it comes to that, but personally and professionally, it comes down to they're expressing something about themselves more than something about you.
Right.
But that's a really tough mental space to stay in sometimes. Jay Baer's book, Hug Your Haters, has some really good thoughts on it that are definitely worth checking out. But
in your particular line of work, I mean, obviously it's not necessarily nationwide, but you still have a good assortment of people that would frequent. You kind of do have a really unique perspective on this because I assume that what you do has a lot more engagement than what we do.
Yeah, so for the listeners out there, I am a professional social media manager. So I actually do social media management as my day job. That's what I get paid to do rather than what I just have fun doing. Although I do have fun doing it,
how I jumped
too.
around where at because I didn't want to say it.
It is for a local business that has a wide reach, and we'll just leave it there. But, I mean... things like when you encounter somebody saying something wonderful about the business, but they also have casual racism in the post. Like,
I would love an example of this.
Yeah, please.
Would you like me to say it so you don't get in trouble?
Well, I can't give specifics, but an example, but an example might be somebody saying, "I absolutely love your business because you caught fraud from that place down the street that is owned by those people of this particular racial group who are always trying to defraud me."
Wow.
Yeah, like...
Wow.
I keep forgetting how awful people are, and then I hear shit like this, and I'm like, wait, what? That's something I might read in a paper from the 1940s.
Right.
I'm very surprised.
Right. But it's out
I
there.
love unnamed financial institution because they save me from the...
blanks.
Yeah.
Racial slur. Yeah, essentially. And it's... yeah, that space of realizing that's where they are and trying to present the example to the counter of that while also not saying the spot where you where you are is bad, just it's not where this is. And that creates some very interesting discussions, especially when you're talking about people who are very frustrated with my place of business helping sponsor Pride and saying some very awful things about that. And honestly, that ended up being a phone call where we had somebody call them and say, so we have a lot of people and a lot of different viewpoints, and this is part of the community, and we're a part of the community, and you just have to deal with that.
Wait, so somebody in your department had to call this person who said these things? Okay, I just want to make sure I heard the story right.
Yep.
Wow, that's...
that must have been an intense phone call.
Yeah, but... there are times that we say maybe we're not the business for you because this is our which one of the things about social media is you can no longer have a business that has no political viewpoint because taking no stance means you're taking a stance.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
I actually think it's a good thing in some ways, but I also think that it can be a very frustrating thing in some ways.
Well, my position was never to really take a position. For example, there was a particular podcast that took a position at a time when it was not super popular to take a position. And my perspective on that, especially in the entertainment business, my opinion is don't take a position when it can alienate half your fan base.
Right.
You can say, I did a thing for X reason, and then that's it. That's all you have to say.
Right. Well, and it's that weird spot because I also come from the place of when I was younger and when the internet was still a itty bitty little baby thing and I had a 6-digit ICQ number, yeah, I totally dated myself, but
Hey, I did too. I'm right there with you.
Awesome. But back in those days, it was the people who were willing to say, here's the truth about me, here's what the case is. It was people willing to say, I'm bi, or I'm out, or I'm trans, or I'm poly, or whatever. Like, people saying all kinds of things about themselves, even though I personally was not in the space to even know what those were necessarily. It was those people who literally, and I do mean quite literally, saved my life. Because I was in a depressed place where, had there not been examples of people out there living openly, I would no longer be around. And I take that viewpoint from a social media business perspective, that sometimes it's an organization or a person that you would never think is the one to have that impact. But if you take a gentle, respectful position and say, we respect that you have that opinion, that is not our opinion, and here's why, and let's have a constructive conversation about it. And that effort to be respectful is a lot of effort, but it can literally save someone's life.
Yeah, like
absolutely.
I've had some very intense arguments with people who differ with me politically. And I've also had wonderful discussions with people who, that have different viewpoints than I do. It just depends on how you approach it. I always try to approach it from a respect thing where it's like, yes, I'm a bleeding heart commie liberal. This is who I am, but if you're willing to not be a jerk, I'm very willing to not be a jerk and listen to what you're saying.
Yeah, I ride the middle of the road on political stuff, but I wanted to make two random observations that I thought of while you were speaking. As part of companies taking a stance, Skittles. Now, my favorite thing about the anger that happened about the Skittles thing was not the bigoted anger. The people that were so pissed off that they couldn't pick out the flavor they didn't like.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Oh, Skittles for Pride released a bag of Skittles that is entirely white.
Oh, okay.
Because it was basically they were sharing their rainbow, and here, we'll take it off. It's going to mean something better for you.
Our rainbow isn't the one that matters.
Yeah,
that was the whole point.
Gotcha. Okay.
I had to hear that to understand what they were doing. Because at first I was like, that seems a little tone deaf.
Right.
And then I read the press release, and I'm like, okay, all right. I mean, I'll let the community they're talking about decide how to react, but for my part, it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy the meeting. It's a support thing. Like no matter what they're it isn't like they're hanging gay people outside of their thing saying, look at these wonderful people in nooses. You know what I mean?
Oh, you literally were talking about hanging.
Yeah, like actually.
The point is support is support, even if it's weirdly done. You know what I mean?
Well, there are some kinds of support that don't help, but I think approaching them...
Example?
I think a good example of that is the congressional shooting. Like, I'm a bleeding, I'm a Democrat who's against guns. Here's how I'm going to support and show that by shooting a congressman who's always been supportive of guns.
Or something that's less black and white, the Kathy Griffin thing.
Okay.
The Kathy Griffin photo shoot. When that hit, I actually only found out about it after she apologized and pulled the images. And my first thought was, why'd she do that? That's a perfectly valid piece of art. It was generating discussion. Why not? And then I thought about it. I was like, well, okay. I don't ever want somebody to die because of a thing I think about them. Or I don't think anybody should ever die because of an opinion. So I get it. I can see why she did it, though I still don't agree. I think she should leave it out there. That's a big, powerful thing.
I completely lost what the other one was because we spent so much time on Skittles.
It'll come back to you, maybe.
Story of my life, man. I spent so much time on Skittles, I forgot to, have a relationship or get a job.
I was thinking about hamburgers, and I ignored a potential.
Oh man!
I laugh, but that has happened to me. Literally, the thought of food distracted me from paying attention to a conversation.
The other one was I loved the internet back before everybody had it. Because I did. Because when the internet was in its early ages, when people could start kind of maybe getting it, And so the real people that were on it at the time were like the nerds who thought it was cool. Like, this is amazing, let's get on it. Those people are used to being ostracized, usually. And so you get more people that are open and creating these communities that are revolving around these tougher subjects that people get, ostracized for. So you're going to find a lot of support. But when everybody got access to the internet, you got all the people that are ostracizing you too. And that's where I kind of think the internet turned tides,
Well, it's both the blessing and the curse of the internet, because it's easier to find the community that you want to be a part of, but it's also easier for others to find that community that may not want to support it.
That has its positives and its negatives, because on the one hand, anybody who's kind of alone in their neck of the woods can find people. But on the other hand, people who, by all rights, should continue to be alone in the woods can find other people to connect with. Like, what was I was just talking to somebody about this. We were talking about, furries and pedophiles.
Okay.
We
I don't see that those are in the same
what's the correlation?
We were talking about furries as like a thing that happened because of the internet, and it turns out, no, they existed. They just couldn't network and find their people.
Yeah.
So it seems like it's a creation of the internet, but it really isn't. And then the conversation shifted to pedophiles, because we were talking about like people getting together and reinforcing negative opinions as a positive thing. And pedophiles came up in the subject. Pedophiles are, well, people know what pedophiles are, but I'm trying to take an interest in it because it's very interesting psychologically to be attracted to something that no one would ever let you do.
Words.
Yeah. When you say I'm trying to take it, when you're saying I'm trying to take an interest in it when talking about pedophiles, it makes it really fun to edit you out of context.
I know it's going to be really fun to take that quote out of context, but I mean, this started with an interview with a guy who was in a pedophile support group for people who have the urge but don't act on it, which was like, wait, that's a what?
It's a thing.
Definitely a thing.
And so I went down the rabbit hole to the point where, in a conversation at a job I had, I had to I had to take the unfortunate position of defending pedophiles versus child molesters.
Well, and I mean, there's so many places to go with that.
I know there's a lot of places to go with it, and it's not a comfortable position. But the point is I'm trying to show compassion to people that are inherently reviled because of something they can't control.
Right.
So I'm trying to understand it. This is not going well for me, but I am really...
Well, but I mean, you have the same thing. For those of you who read Cracked, they actually did a really intriguing article a while ago.
They put out a lot of good think pieces, actually.
But one of their pieces was about people who have fetishes that are physiologically impossible.
The fire guy.
Right. Like, people who have a fetish, they get really excited about the idea of cooking and eating their own body parts. Which is just disgusting on like a million different levels, but it was talking about how individuals who cannot fulfill their fetish still work their way around that being something that excites them while still being respectful of others. And it's just a really intriguing thought experiment of how you deal with that without reviling a group or reviling an individual who still chooses to fit within the social contract that most of us try to work under.
It's about taking the person out of it. We don't need to shame a person to shame an act.
Right.
And that's sort of where I'm trying to put my head.
Right.
In terms of how people interact with other people. I don't know what I'm
I
saying.
know, and I mean, we're treating you like you're a social pariah at this point where you've dug yourself in a hole, and it's just because it's an uncomfortable subject.
Well, I know it's an uncomfortable situation. That's why I have to do it.
There's a general fine line between that word and acts, and everybody will always make that mental association because that word is always to that association. Because anybody who doesn't act on it usually doesn't talk about it.
Well, and that's kind of an issue because there are people who are seeking help who can't seek help.
Right.
If you tell anybody, and this is actually part of the argument I had at work, was if a friend of this particular person came up and said, "Hey, man, I'm having these uncomfortable thoughts. You're the only dude I can reach. Help me out." His response was immediate violence. I was like, well, that's not a way to approach anything.
Right.
You know, don't hit a person because they're telling you something. You can have a reaction. You can not like that it's happening. But
I'm gonna make it not an analogy. Suicide.
Yes.
A lot of people I know, including myself, have very, very deeply contemplated it, if not attempted. That is something that is inherently wrong. It's murder, but to yourself. And it's treated differently when you say, I'm thinking about killing myself. People want to help you. I'm having these thoughts that I have not done yet. Is the general thing when he's saying? I was like, it's very analogous. So an analogy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, and there is power in being able to find a community that can support whoever or whatever, because it is a lot easier to reach out and find that. And on the same token, it's a lot easier for you to be found out because of that when you may or may not be ready to deal with that.
Google search the word pedophile and not be on a list.
Right, exactly. But I mean, there were similar discussions happening in very different formats back when book publishing became a thing and back when radio broadcasting became a thing. I did a whole episode about this where the whole panic about a communications technology ruining society or ruining kids is really just a panic about our own ability to communicate because all of these technologies that bring information out, people tend to panic that information is too available. Great book out there called Forbidden Knowledge that I'm currently working my way through, talking about how knowledge is so powerful that not giving people context to deal with it can be more damaging.
Really?
I don't say I agree with the premise of the book, but it's very intriguing when talking about this because part of the promise of the internet is you can find anything that you are looking for, which is really helpful when you Google things like, I'm fat and might be okay with that, which is totally something I have Googled. But at the same point, figuring out how to balance that with still being human beings who talk face to face and have those interactions and deal with people with different social views and political views and personal views and how to balance that.
Yeah. That's a really serious show.
I like it, yeah. We don't have to
balance
be all
it
out.
Yeah, no, it's a great balance.
Definitely.
God, there was a place I was going to go with this. Talking about communication, how to handle it.
Books, radio, television.
Newspapers, they're ruining our children.
Yeah,
Seriously?
I have seen a lot of that stuff too. That's
really?
Well, and now that's being applied to screen time. Like, screen time is going to ruin your child's mind. It's like, you do realize that there was a Swedish physician who wrote that books were going to ruin a child's mind. And it goes in this really interesting cycle where what is reviled suddenly becomes very morally okay. Like, you should give your child a book to read. Well, that was reviled last. Or, it's okay if your child listens to radio. So how long before watching television becomes what you should do instead of giving them internet time?
Yeah.
God, now that I think about it, you're totally right. I mean, I lived through this with rock and roll music and video games. Video games were going to be the thing that ruins children.
Right.
Rock music was going to be the thing that ruins children, although maybe less that one than the video game one. God, I still can't remember where I was going to go.
You know what I've discovered ruins children the most? Parents. Bad ones, I mean.
That's actually a pretty valid point.
Now, to be fair, good ones still ruin them too, just in different ways.
Well, I'm of the opinion you can't be a perfect parent. That's impossible because you're going to fuck up. For every good thing you do, there's probably another thing that you're not thinking about where you screamed at a kid out of turn. And I'm not saying it was not warranted in the situation of just... like, maybe there's a better way to handle it, but every parent has one of those moments where they're like, just shut the fuck up! You're 8.
Right.
None of that works on you. You don't understand the context.
Just shut the fuck up. Oh, you're 8. Stephen Bateman, 2017.
Verity knew what shut the fuck up meant when she was 8. Still does now.
By contrast, my kid doesn't understand it at all. If I raise my voice with him, he just gets scared and stops paying attention. He's autistic, so unless it's a series of phrases that we've hammered into him, he doesn't quite understand. So we say, shut up. It doesn't make any sense to him. But if we say, hey, keep it calm, he understands he's being too loud. But sometimes he's just he just hits a particular frequency. I'm like, shut it, God!
Ours goes in for the Spectrum screening next week.
Oh, oh my. Okay. Well, somebody's going to try to sell you a gluten-free diet. Read into it first.
Don't eat gluten. Well, I'm done with this book.
Also, somebody will try and sell you essential oils that fix everything.
Oh,
perfect.
And somebody's going to yell at you about vaccines, too.
Yep.
I've dealt with that particular dance.
You know what I love about the stances I take? I'm not afraid of modern medicine because, I'm not dead.
Yeah.
I could totally be dead, but, I'm not. So, great. Hooray.
I don't have
medicine.
polio. Something must have worked.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had a lot of random things go wrong with me that would have killed me if we didn't have modern medicine.
Yeah.
Shit,
Yeah.
I probably still have something that's about to kill me, but thankfully it hasn't yet.
Hey, at least you don't know.
Yeah, it's true.
Yay! Andrew might die! Yes!
Right.
On that happy note.
At least I don't have MS yet.
Oh, sure. Throw the MS bat at the MS kid.
Well, that's all right, because it's, like, again, I mean, it's not like I'm going to ever gain a significant amount of weight, so I can't catch up to you there, but I am going to end up with that eventually. That's like, it's not an if, it's a when.
Sweet. I'm just going to get hit by a car, probably.
It's surprisingly survivable.
That's what I hear.
No, I believe it. I don't... it's either diabetes or get hit by a car. Those are the two things that are going to kill me. Or third thing, I'm going to mouth off to the wrong person. They're going to shoot me in public.
Well, that one's. I'm trying to figure out how you're going to get hit by a car. How often are you on roads that aren't 20 miles an hour?
A surprising amount of time in my life. A surprising amount of time in my life.
That's interesting.
Usually relating to Pokemon Go or taking my child to go swimming.
Oh, you still play the Go. Okay.
Yeah.
Then you'll get hit by a car.
Yeah.
Eventually.
I still occasionally play Go. It's less of a... Like, they're reworking the gyms now, so I'm going to probably play for another week.
Oh, no, I know. Because they're making that frickin' church across the alley from us a gym now. So I don't have a spinnable thing anymore. Because there used to be a Pokestop right there, but they put the gyms under construction, which suddenly my Pokestop is now gym under construction. I'm like, son of a bitch.
Aw.
There goes my free stuff.
Aw.
I don't play very often, so I'm just like, I don't want to leave my house. Pokemon.
Pokemon Go and Ingress. Oh,
that's how we met, is Ingress.
Yeah.
Yep. That's how this wonderful, horrible marriage started.
That's true. That's true. Actually, I'll tell you what, that game gave me 90% of my socials life right now. Like, I had more then, but as time happens, things go the wayside. I still have, some connections I had before then, a handful of them, but most of the people, thousands and people I've met since then, I wish I was exaggerating, is because of that game. Yeah, it's been weird, but it was Pokemon Go before Pokemon Go.
Yeah. Oh, I played.
Okay, then you know.
Yeah, that's right. You did. You were Resistance, weren't you?
Yes.
Yes.
We have met before then.
I doubt it.
I have been trying. No, you played in Spokane at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, then we've met. It's been in my head, like, I know you from somewhere. I know your voice. I know some of the things you say. I know.
Except the only person I met in person from Ingress, we met in Otis Orchards, and he biked over from Idaho. So unless you were biking over from Idaho.
Is that Yacker? No, he wouldn't have been in Idaho. Simon?
Yes. But that's the only person that I've ever met in person from Ingress. Other than that, I just ran mostly the Otis Orchards, Liberty Lake, Newman Lake area.
Ladies and gentlemen, the world is smaller than we think, so be respectful to everyone.
Simon's been on the shows before. He's a good friend of mine.
Got it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember though, because that has to be it though. Like, we have no other social connections that I'm aware of.
Unless you happen to hear about our wedding 7 years ago from yeah.
I don't pay that close. I didn't even know Burr was. I didn't even realize that Burr was Burr at that point. Somebody had pointed, that guy, he's from here. I'm like, what guy? And they showed me. I'm like, oh, I think I saw that one time.
When we're off the air, we'll need to figure this out.
Yeah, it's driving me nuts.
Yes.
Yes.
We got here from KFC is launching a chicken sandwich into space.
Pretty much.
I'd just like to highlight how absurd that is.
Was that the last thing we talked about?
That was the thing.
No,
I
that was
brought
the
up.
first thing.
That was the first thing.
Yeah.
The spur.
Yes.
Man, that was just... God, I love how random the show can get.
The art of conversation is great, man.
Yes.
Fantastic. All right. We're going back to space again.
Oh no, the chicken sandwich is back, and it's purple.
What kind of chicken sandwich is it? Is it going to be the whole like double down bacon and fried thing, or?
Let me look
That's
at the
how I
event.
want us represented to the aliens out
There you
there.
go. That's the peak of humanity right there.
It's
Don't
like
need
we
the Mona
peaked.
Lisa.
Yeah.
Don't need the Leaning Tower pizza.
Or pizza.
Or pizza,
Yeah.
you know.
We could do that.
KFC double down. Welcome to
Yep.
America.
That's what every immigrant should get on arrival. You're American now. Congratulations.
Have
there you
some
go.
heart disease.
Yep.
Land of the free, home of the fat.
Yep.
Let's see. I'm looking at the event right now. It's happening June. Oh, they moved it. It's happening this week as we're recording. Thursday, June 22nd, and it will come back on the 25th. And they are sending a Zinger chicken sandwich, which I'm not familiar with KFC's menu.
It's a small sandwich. It's kind of spicy. Why do I know this?
I've got two guesses.
They're probably both right.
Yes.
No, that is super fascinating that they chose to do that.
Oh,
and
no.
their advertising has worked.
Before we go, can I just mention, I just wanted to correct earlier, there is no House bill for targeting trans people. What is happening is there's going to be a ballot initiative in November, and the act is I-1552. So the effort that is currently going on is to decline to sign at Walmarts, wherever the petitioners are. So check it out, do research, all that fun stuff. Be a good citizen.
Let's see.
Absolutely.
Oh, I'm supposed to lead this one, aren't I?
Lead this one.
Well, it sounds like, from the long, obvious audio clue, that our producer is saying it's time to wrap up today's discussion.
I want to thank you both for joining us again and for the first time. Listeners, of course, I'm going to beat this into your head. 1000thingstalkabout.com. Listen to that show. I promise. And also, do those things with the decline to sign.
Yes.
Don't sign that shit.
Yeah. Laugh at those
Please
people.
and thank you.
Yes. Take pictures and humiliate them on the internet. That's what I'm going to do.
You can find this show at nerd.pantspending.com or our new video home at bit.ly/celebrategeek. And while you're at pantspending.com, check out one of our many great shows and YouTube channels.
And also find this show on Facebook at facebook.com/nerdpodcast.
That's NERD Podcast.
And on Twitter at PPSNerd.
That's Papist Nerd.
And you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Pocket Cast, YouTube, Google Play, TuneIn, Satchel, and of course many more.
Help us reach as many ears as we can. Like, comment, share, subscribe on whichever platform you prefer.
Oh, that was short. Have a question, comment. We love hearing from you. Visit nerd.pantspending.com to shoot us an email. We'll even take the time to read and answer your questions
Especially
on
if
air.
it's about something I said today.
Yeah, it's true. We'll revisit.
Today's episode was sponsored by our patrons on Patreon. If you'd like to get exclusive access to our shows, behind-the-scenes peeks, and early access to some of our episodes, become a patron today at patreon.com/pantspending. Thank you for being a part of today's show. Pantspending. Beeblebrox, look what I have found in this wreckage.
What is that?
It appears to be a small sound file device.
What?
Yes, a small sound file device.
What does that even mean?
You press play and it will play things. This appears to be a podcast.
This podcast is a Pants Pending Studios production.
And part of the Pants Pending Studios podcast network.
Find more of our great shows just by searching Pants Pending in your podcatcher.
For more information or to contact us directly, visit us at pantspending.com.
Please subscribe to this show, share it with your friends, like it on Facebook, and rate it on iTunes.
And we thank you for making us a part of your listening day.
Pants Pending.
Pants Pending.
Pants Pending.
Pants Pending.
Pants Pending.
Pants Pending. Studios.